Welcome. You are in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me here for part two of the Monday edition, week 7 in the lab room, breaking down week 6 matchups in the National Football League. So, I'll pick up where I left off. Minnesota at home, Carolina coming to town. 2, 1, and 3 ball clubs looking to get in the win column. And I thought that the Vikings, off the strength of this Adrian Peterson tragedy, would come out play inspired football. I didn't care who the quarterback was. Christian Ponder, Matt Castle, Josh Freeman. Didn't matter. Whoever the quarterback was going to do enough. This offensive line was going to open up holes. And the Minnesota Vikings were going to go out and play for Adrian Peterson. I couldn't have been more wrong in this football game. They simply were dominated in every facet of the game. Special teams, offense, defense, you name it. The Panthers won at that in this game. Cam Newton, strong performance, 20 of 26. Very efficient. Brandon LaFell, man, he woke up. Welcome to the party, Brandon. Where you been at, man? Yeah, I know it's your contract year, so I expect more performances like that. Someone's going to fall into the trap. You're going to get paid, and then you're going to go back to being Brandon LaFell, the one no one knows or hears about. But in this game, you stepped up, played some big football. He got it done. Steve Smith chipped in, and they just got it done in all phases. Thomas Davis got to the quarterback. They forced some turnovers. Mike Mitchell, 2 picks in this game. The defense just did what they've done all year. They stifled the Minnesota Vikings from start to finish. And offensively, this is the question for the Carolina Panthers. And this is going to remain the question all season long. Can your offense match the intensity of your defense week in and week out? Look, this defense is good. They're legit. And they're going to stop teams from scoring a lot of points week in and week out. Can this offense score enough points and not make mistakes and win football games? I'm not asking for this Panthers offense to score 35. In their 2 wins, they've scored 38 and 35. I'm not asking for them to do that. How about when your defense plays well enough for you to score 24 and win? You score 24 and win. There's been games this season where the defense has played well enough for this team to win and they didn't go out and execute offensively. They lost. There's been games where the defense played okay. The offense probably did enough to win and they still lost, as in the case against Buffalo. This team needs to be on the same page, offense, defense. They need to be able to pull out close games. That's the Achilles heel of this team right now, is they can't win close ball games. Right now, this team is feast or famine. They're either winning 38-0 or 35-10, or they're losing. And there's no in between. The Panthers aren't winning games 23-13. They're either blowing a team out and giving them a nice old-fashioned passionate ass whooping and the other teams getting their shoes coat and their hat taken. Or the Panthers are just simply not getting it done and they're losing. There needs to be some kind of middle ground. There needs to be some happy medium where the Panthers can go and win a football game 20-14, 23-13. They need to be able to win close games 24-23, 20-24, 17-23. They need to be able to pull out the close ones. Right now, that's not the case, but they got it done in Minnesota. They didn't need to worry about winning close because this game got out of hand very quickly, and they dominated from the second half on. Panthers go on the road, and they show why they can be a threat in the NFC if they can get it clicking on all cylinders. And they beat the Minnesota Vikings 35-10. If you look at it from the Vikings standpoint, look, you weren't able to run the ball the way you want to. Your quarterback situation is a mess. You have to get Josh Freeman up to speed because this offense is dying for some solid quarterbacking play. Now, I will give Matt Castle a break and tell you that this offensive line was horrendous in this game. The Panthers were all over Matt Castle, but it doesn't matter. When he had time, he was airmailing the football straight to Carolina Panther defenders. And so, no, there is no pass for Matt Castle. He's bad. They need a legit quarterback in there, and it's time for Josh Freeman to get in there. And so they've got to get him up to speed as fast as possible so that they can try to win football games in Minnesota. They lose. They drop to 1-4 on the season due to the Minnesota Vikings. Meanwhile, the Carolina Panthers go to 2-3 on the season, and they're right back in the thick of things in the NFC. Now, look, the Saints are trying to run away, but we'll talk about them here in a second with that division. But the Panthers haven't played any games within the division yet, so they're still around. If they can start winning football games, this could be a dangerous Panthers team down the road. You look at the next matchup. Philadelphia Eagles on the road versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And look, Nicholas Foles is slowly making a believer out of me. I'm still not afraid of him like I am Michael Vick. Take nothing away from Nicholas Foles. Vick scares me because of the threat of not only passing the football, but running it as well. Not afraid of Nicholas Foles and his legs. If he wants to use them, by all means, go right ahead. Use them. But he's showing me some moxie in the pocket. The poise that is necessary to be successful as a quarterback in this league. And so he went out in Tampa Bay, and he got it done. The Buccaneers, this is a thing that's killing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the 2013 NFL season. They're in the football game in the first half. And they're playing solid football. They may not be ahead, but they're not that far behind if they're not ahead. If the game's not tied or they're not ahead, they're down by 3 or they're down by 4 or they're down a touchdown, but they're not being blown out. The problem is, after the half, in 5 ball games, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have scored a total, and I didn't make this number up, this isn't an exaggeration, they've scored a total of 6 points in the second half this season. In 5 games. We're talking about 5 halves of football. So essentially, we're talking about a game and a quarter worth of football. The Buccaneers only have a total of 6 points. Not even a touchdown, 2 field goals to their name. That's not going to get it done, and that's why you're an 0-5 football team, because after the half, you're not making the necessary adjustments. You're not coming out with the same intensity that you had in the first half. And teams are making adjustments at halftime, and you're not making the adjustment to the adjustment, and you're losing football games, and you're not scoring points. And that's the most important part. This defense can hold you up for as long as they can, but if you're not scoring points, you're not going to win in the National Football League. End of discussion. And in this game, they were right there, step for step with the Philadelphia Eagles. They kick a field goal due the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because they were ahead in this game at the half, 17-14. They come out, they get a field goal, they go up 20-14, and then they give up a huge play to Riley Cooper. The Eagles take the lead at 21-20, and the Buccaneers never score another point in this football game. And the lights just went out on the offense. The Eagles continued to score. Deshaun Jackson had a big day, 2 touchdowns for him in this football game. LaShawn McCoy was being LaShawn Shady McCoy, as he always is. Huge play to start the game with a dump off on a screen, huge runs. He was himself in this game. They got it done, did the Philadelphia Eagles. And there isn't a controversy to me in Philadelphia, but the minute Michael Vick slips up, what Nicholas Foles has done in these last 2 weeks has opened the door for a quarterback controversy in Philadelphia. If Vick comes in, and say he comes back against the Dallas Cowboys in week number 7, and he doesn't play up to par, and he throws 2 interceptions, fumbles another one, and they lose the football game 23-20. And those 3 turnovers are your direct result in a loss. How can you not be clamoring for Nicholas Foles? And I think that's the problem that they're going to run into at some point in this season, is that you've got 2 capable quarterbacks. Both have shown you that they can run your offense with a level of confidence that has you winning football games. Now what happens when both of them are healthy and one maybe isn't getting the job done up to your standards for a game or so? What do? That's going to be the problem in Philadelphia. They have to make sure that they have an unquestioned starter And no matter what the situation is, you go with that guy unless he is hurting the team too much or he's injured. But I could see them running into a situation where Nicholas Foles is on everyone's tongue, the tip of everyone's tongue, and Vic hasn't really played that bad, but they're not winning, or maybe he's not playing up to the standards that Chip Kelly has set for him. And next thing you know, Nicholas Foles is in the game. He played well in this game. He didn't turn it over. He hit the long ball. He did everything that the Eagles needed him to do. He even used his legs for a touchdown on the quarterback draw. Eagles get it done on the road, 31-20. Buccaneers drop to 0-5 on the season. Eagles even up their mark to 3-3 on the season, and they're atop the NFC East with this win. Big win for the Eagles on the road against a struggling Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that can't score second half points. That proved to be their undoing in this game. Buccaneers must find ways to score points in the second half of ball games. You look at the next matchup, and this one was one that I thought would get out of control. I thought it was going to get ugly. And last week I said, it's going to get ugly. In here. Oh, in here. Oh, in here. Oh. I thought it was going to get ugly. But it's funny. Let me tell you a quick story, then we'll get into the wrap-up of this game. Longtime viewer, probably one of my most loyal viewers, Flash, my man Flash, he has been right on the money on several occasions, and one of those occasions was this one right here. He said last week, after my Wednesday in the lab room program, that this team, this Jacksonville Jaguars team, because they were such heavy underdogs, was going to step up to the occasion, and they were going to play a solid football game. Now, he didn't step out that far on the ledge and go to the side of crazy. He just said, hey, they're going to be competitive, and they're not going to be blown out as much as people think. Now, his score was a little bit closer than what the final score in this game ended up being. But if you watch the football game, the Jacksonville Jaguars were very competitive for about 3.5 quarters. So Flash was right on the money once again. And so I told Flash, you're not right for that one, because he called me crazy, and we'll talk about that on another program, another time, another place for that. But he basically said I was crazy for one of the picks I made, and I said, no, I'm not crazy. You're crazy for thinking that the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to play this Denver Broncos team who has it on tilt right now closely. No way that they're going to go into Denver and make this a competitive ballgame. And that's exactly what they did. And the thing that they did, and this is probably going to try to be a blueprint for other teams, and it's not hard to do, but it is at the same time, is put pressure on Peyton Manning. That's always been the knock on Peyton Manning. You put pressure on him, you move him off the spot, you can get him to make mistakes and force him into some turnovers. He'll start to see ghosts. He'll start to shuffle those feet. He'll start to be inaccurate, and you'll get opportunities to make some plays against Peyton Manning. Well, the Broncos in this game started off hot because the Jacksonville Jaguars decided that, hey, we're not going to lay down. We're going to try everything and anything that we have in our arsenal to win this football game. So they decided to come out and try a fake punt on the first possession at their own 35. Well, it didn't work. A couple plays later, Broncos are in the end zone at 7-0. Next possession, Jags don't do anything. Broncos get the football back. They're back down the field. It's 14-0. Here we go. Here comes the onslaught. That's what it looked like. Then the Jacksonville Jaguars settled in. They score a touchdown. They score another touchdown. All of a sudden, Jacksonville isn't out of this football game, and the second touchdown came off of a pick six. Paul Posluszny picks off Peyton Manning right before the half, takes it the distance, and all of a sudden, after the Posluszny INT, it's 12-14. And they were in this football game where the Jacksonville Jaguars. The problem was you knew they couldn't sustain the level of intensity necessary to win this football game. They hung around. Broncos scored a touchdown. Jags scored another touchdown. Maurice Jones-Drew gets in the end zone. It's 21-19. So they're hanging in there. They're hanging tough. But in typical Jacksonville Jaguars fashion, They find ways to do things that are going to stop them from winning. And this game was no different. Penalties and other things, missed opportunities, guys running wide open. First play of the game, wide open tight end, Jacksonville Jaguars. Chad Henne overshoots a wide open receiver by about 3 yards. If he hits him in stride, I don't know if he scores. He's a tight end. He's probably going to get caught from behind. But it's 1st and 10 from probably the Denver 17-yard line. You're in business right off the bat, and you've got confidence. Instead, you miss, and that's the type of things that the Jacksonville Jaguars do. They've got opportunities for interceptions. They don't make them. And I mean, that's what you do when you're a bad football team. You don't take advantage of opportunities to make plays. They didn't do that in this game. And so, of course, we knew Denver would eventually run away. And the Broncos, they got a little spiteful in this game. Don't you hate one-uppers? Guys who always feel like they got to be able to get the last laugh. And anything you can do, I can do better. That's what the Broncos are doing. And so the Jaguars faked a punt. It didn't work. The Broncos said, hey, let me show you. I can fake a punt too. Let me show you how to do it. They fake a punt. It works to perfection. It leads to points. And so the Broncos finally woke up and realized, hey, we're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're hanging in. We need to run away and distance ourselves from these guys. They run off 14 unanswered points, win the football game 35-19 in a very competitive game by the Jacksonville Jaguars. But last time I checked, you don't get points, you don't get wins for competitive football. There are no moral victories in the National Football League. A loss is a loss is a loss. But kudos to the Jacksonville Jaguars for not going out and getting drubbed in Denver when you were the biggest road underdog in NFL history by the bet makers and odds makers in the National Football League. Way to not go out and regurgitate on yourself. Way to stand up, show a little bit of pride, and try to win the football game. But Denver still scoring an inordinate amount of points. They put up another 35 in this game, get it done versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. 35-19. They go to 6-0 on the season. Now that sets up a huge matchup on Sunday Night Football versus the Indianapolis Colts. Peyton returning home to the place that he helped build. So now we move on to Seattle at home versus the Tennessee Titans. And this was a game between two teams that play extremely good defense. And we got exactly what I thought we were going to get. A defensive struggle between two teams that, if all things were equal, if Tennessee had all their stuff, and I'm basically talking about Jake Locker here, and they were able to play their brand of football, this could be a different outcome. I hate to keep harping on this because it sucks that they had to go in there and they didn't have all their bullets fully loaded in their gun. They went in and they had half a clip, and it showed. What I did realize in this game is that Ryan Fitzpatrick is a lot more athletic than I gave him credit for. That guy can run. He can move. I'm surprised at how well he's moving right now. But at the end of the day, you know he's going to turn it over at some point, and that's the problem. There's drives like the second possession of this game where Ryan Fitzpatrick looks outstanding. Outstanding. He looks outstanding. I mean, the throws that he made to Kendall Wright on that second drive, I mean, you can't throw it any better. Back against the end zone, he lays it up there. Wright runs under it, and he was making some plays. He was playing really good football early on. And I've said, if you're going to attack a Seahawk corner, it better be Brandon Brown. And he can be had, and I thought Kendall Wright was having his way with him early on in this football game. And they march right down the field to the Tennessee Titans, and they get points. And it looked like a promising start. Even though it was only a field goal, you got to finish those drives with touchdowns. It still looked good. And so I felt like they had opportunities to do some things. They really played some good defense in this game, and that's what they always do. That's why they'll always have a chance to win, Will Tennessee, because they play very solid defense. And I'm going to tell you like the kids used to tell me back in the day when it pertained to their younger brother. Don't mess with my brother. So I'm going to tell you like they used to tell me. This is for any team playing against the Tennessee Titans. Do not mess with Alteron Verner. Okay? There are other guys on the field that you can throw at, that you can pick on. Alteron Verner is not one of them. Leave that young man alone. He's playing some really confident corner this season. I'd advise you to stay away from him if you can. We already know you're supposed to stay away from Richard Sherman. The Tennessee Titans obviously didn't get that memo. Ryan Fitzpatrick throws a pick straight to him. But I'm warning anyone else that has the Tennessee Titans on their schedule. Stay away from Mr. Verner. He'll hurt you. So, at the end of the first half, you won't see a more weird sequence of events that leads to a touchdown right before the half than this one. Seahawks lose their field goal kicker in this game. Stephen Hauschka is absolutely plowed on a kickoff return by Darius Raynaud. And he just absolutely runs him over. Helmet goes up on his face like this. And so he gets a concussion. He's out for the rest of the game. So your punter has to become your field goal kicker. Your holder, who is normally your punter, is now kicking field goals. So now your backup safety has to become your holder. Well, all these dynamics, and we know special teams is such a quirky thing. If everything isn't perfect, something's going to go wrong. Well, you've got a new guy holding the football. Snap comes back. It's fine. Holder puts it down. He drops it. All of a sudden, everything goes haywire. He tries to throw the football. He's stripped of it. It's scooped up by McCourty. And down the sideline he goes for a touchdown when it seemed like Seattle was going to kick a field goal to go into halftime at 10-3. Now all of a sudden, it's about a 90-yard return for a touchdown. And it's 10-7 Tennessee at the half. Who knew? But in typical Seahawks fashion, at home, they settled in. They got after Ryan Fitzpatrick, forced him into a couple of second half turnovers. And they end up winning the game. They grinded them out in this football game. They beat the Titans at their own game. And, of course, Seattle is best at doing this when they're at home, and that's where this game was, at CenturyLink Field. They pull it out 20-13 at home versus the Tennessee Titans. Hard-fought victory for the Seattle Seahawks, but figured they'd be able to get it done at home, which is what they normally do. They win at home. Till someone is able to defeat them at CenturyLink, it's going to be hard to beat this Seattle Seahawks team at home. But there are some chinks in that armor. But I tell you what, this Seattle Seahawks team is extremely good. Another hard-fought win, but another victory for this team. They're rolling right now. And I can't wait to see them and the 49ers square off in San Francisco. I want to see what the Seattle Seahawks can do on the road in San Francisco. That'll be a test for them for sure. But big win for Seattle at home. They moved to 5-1 on the season. Tough loss for the Tennessee Titans. They struggled. They fought. They stayed in this game. They just didn't have enough. What's up with the running game? That's my biggest question. You go out in the offseason. You make Robert Turner your new center. You draft a big guy like Chance Warmack. You go out. You spend all of those big bucks on Levitri, and you can't run the football. What's wrong with that picture? I don't understand, because Chris Johnson doesn't have any space. See, last year, I understood the dynamic a little bit. There was space. He wanted to bounce everything outside, and there was a reason why this thing wasn't clicking. This year, he doesn't have any space to run, and he can't use that speed that he has because he can't even get going. What's up with this running game? The one thing that the Titans should be able to lean on right now in the absence of Jake Locker should be the running game. And they simply cannot run the football. Maybe those two things go hand in hand. No Locker. I'm not afraid of your passing game. I'm loading up the box to stop Chris Johnson and making Ryan Fitzpatrick beat me. Maybe that's what the opposing teams are doing, and that's what their mentality is going into the football game. You still need to spring Chris Johnson. Get him in space. If it's got to be a screen and you got to isolate him one-on-one and throw him a slant, or you got to run bubble screens for this guy, get him the football in space. My God, this guy is too talented, too explosive for him not to be in space. At some point in the game, they're not getting him the football in situations where he can be dynamic. They have to figure out ways, devise ways, scheme up ways to get Chris Johnson the football where he can be his most effective. Didn't happen in this game. Titans go down 20-13, go to 3-3 on the season. So you look at the next matchup, San Francisco 49ers out west, taking on their NFC West rivals in the Arizona Cardinals. I expected this to be a good football game, and it was exactly what I thought I was going to get. Cardinals really gave the San Francisco 49ers all that they could want in this football game. But in this game, what it boiled down to was, if you don't check it, you'll get VD. And no, I'm not talking about a venereal disease. If you don't check it, you'll get Vernon Davis. And that's what they got in this football game. They got VD. And they didn't know how to stop VD. And they gave up too many big plays. And what did I say for the intro to this game? The preview of this game, I said Carson Palmer must stop turning the football over. He's got to stop with the careless interceptions. And he turned it over in this game. And you can't win like that in the National Football League. I mean, he had 2 first-half interceptions. And Larry Fitzgerald fumbled. And that's so uncharacteristic of him. But he fumbled. He put it on the ground. And I think that was the most back-breaking turnover of them all. Even though Carson Palmer turned it over and that led to points for the 49ers, they only got field goals out of it. And credit to this Arizona Cardinals defense. No one talks about this defense, but year in, year out, this is a great bunch of guys playing defense. They're unsung, not a lot of huge names, but they're getting it done week in and week out. And they got it done in this game. They played well enough to win on the defensive side of football, aside from the Vernon Davis gaffes. I mean, they kept leaving Jeremiah Bell in one-on-one coverage. There was a time where it was a zone coverage, and Kaepernick rolled out. And what he was supposed to do was Jeremiah Bell was supposed to stay deeper than the deepest. He didn't. And Vernon Davis ran through the zone, got deep, got deeper than the safety, and he scored a touchdown. It was his first of the game. He'd have another. And so he was dominant in this game with Vernon Davis. And that's the kind of performance the 49ers are going to need from him until guys like Mario Manningham come back and can help. And, of course, Crabtree as well can help take some of that pressure off. He's going to have to be that guy along with Anquan Bolden. He stepped up huge in this football game. But if you're the Cardinals, you played well enough to win this football game. You got to stop with the turnovers. You don't expect Larry Fitzgerald to fumble when you've got the momentum with a chance to take the lead. You're driving for points. You don't expect him to put it on the ground. Carson Palmer has to stop fumbling. And they've got to find ways on the road to close out football games and win. They're not playing good enough on the road. They got lucky against Tampa Bay that the Buccaneers can't score second half points, or else they would have lost that game too. But luckily enough for them, the Buccaneers struggle to put teams away. They don't score points. They hung around and allowed the Arizona Cardinals to come back and steal that one. The 49ers weren't having any of that. They forced some turnovers, turned those turnovers into points, and they end up winning this game against the Cardinals 31-20 in this football game. Tough loss for the Arizona Cardinals because they were in this football game and the score was 22-20 for the longest time, and they could not take advantage of opportunities to take the lead and possibly stun the San Francisco 49ers at home. And this is the issue with the Cardinals, and this is the thing. This is a dangerous team. They're going to be in football games all year long. You play them in Arizona, good luck. You play them on the road, they're going to give you a run for your money. If you're a good enough football team, you'll win in the end because they turn the football over too much. This is a team that won't win the NFC West, a team that probably won't make the postseason, but they're going to scare the hell out of a lot of teams in the National Football League this season. And if you got them in Arizona, good luck once again, because this is a dangerous group. They play defense, they force turnovers, and they do all of the things necessary to win. The only thing that's going to be their Achilles heel is the fact that they simply turn the football over way too much to win football games on a consistent basis. 49ers get it done within the division. They go to 4-2 on the season. Big win for them at home. And it's good to see Colin Kaepernick firing that football around, getting it to Vernon Davis, and giving them opportunities to make plays down the field. They win this football game, and they go to 4-2 in the season. Good win for the 49ers. Tough loss for the Arizona Cardinals as they drop to 3-3 on the season. Save the best for last. Patriots at home versus the New Orleans Saints. Patriots came into this game at 4-1. Saints came in at a squeaky clean 5-0. So you look at the records and you say, man, this is a great matchup. But I went into this game feeling a little jaded with this football game. Maybe because the Patriots aren't as good as their 4-1 record may indicate. And maybe because the Saints, I don't know. Maybe I'm used to the Saints putting up 45 and they're winning in a different fashion now. They're playing a different brand of football, which is better for them. You don't want to score 45 and have to score 45 because your defense is giving up 42. They're not doing that anymore. They're scoring 26 in their defense. And I was really shocked to hear this. Their defense hasn't allowed, up until this game, hadn't allowed 20 points this season. Amazing. I didn't realize that. That's how good this New Orleans Saints defense had been playing up until this game. And they came in, and this was a game of runs. If your team was hot and you had the hot hand, you ran off 10 or 14 or 17 unanswered points in this game. And the Patriots came out, and they established themselves early in this football game. They jumped out to a 17-7 lead at the half, and they really stymied the New Orleans Saints because they did something, and this is pure genius, and this is pure Bill Belichick at his finest. He takes his best corner and arguably his best player on his football team, outside of Tom Brady, of course, in Q.T.1, and puts him on Jimmy Graham and says, all right, wherever he goes, you go. And up until the injury to Q.T.1, he was with Jimmy Graham every step of the way. And it proved to be in the favor of the Patriots. It proved dividends early on. I mean, he had him in a straitjacket. He couldn't do anything. And that really limited the offensive efficiency and effectiveness of the Saints in the first half. They couldn't find an answer. They couldn't get the ball to Jimmy Graham. And I thought what they needed to do after they realized, okay, this is what they want to do. They want to take away our best option. Find other guys and primarily use Darren Sproles. There's no answer for him. The Patriots don't have fast linebackers. They can't cover him. Use him like you did on Monday Night Football versus the Dolphins. Get him out of space. Allow him to work. And as they start sucking up on him and they start paying attention to him, then you hit guys like Kenny Stills and Nick Toon and Colston. And even you can sneak in Robert Meacham and hit him deep. And so I thought they needed to switch it up and go away from Jimmy Graham. But they tried to force him to football early on. It wasn't working. Second half, they made some adjustments. They started running the football. Pierre Thomas. I can't really say much more about Pierre Thomas. This guy is so underrated. He's such a good football player. He started getting it going in the second half. They started mixing in all kinds of backs. Tavares Cadet saw some action. They've got a guy, Kyrie Robinson, that they like a lot. He's a rookie, undrafted. He got in and he was doing his thing. They started running the football. They started getting the football to the backs. They started mixing in different receivers, and they ran off about 17 unanswered points. They took the lead. They were in control of this football game, and they had this game sewn up late. They were up in this football game, were the New Orleans Saints, and they had the Patriots dead to right. No excuse not to put this one away. And this is my biggest issue with the Saints late in this ball game. They had the Patriots right where they wanted them. Okay? This game was over. Belichick had went for it on fourth down about 3 times, it seemed like. He was conceding this loss because he was going for it in situations. They had timeouts. They could have used them. And he felt like if I go for it and I don't get it, my defense will force them to kick a field goal, and I'll still have a chance in this football game. And he rolled the dice, and he ended up being right. But it shouldn't have come down to that because they shouldn't have had the opportunities that they had in this game to come back and win. If the Saints stopped being conservative, I thought they went into a conservative shell late in this game. They stopped the Patriots on fourth down. They get the football. They settle for a field goal. Instead of them going for the jugular, and a knockout, they settle for a field goal. Okay? So that gives them a 6-point advantage in this football game. They get an interception of Brady, picked off by Keenan Lewis, and this game should be over. They were celebrating as if this game was over. They thought they were going to 6-0 in the season, and they tried to run the football. We know that Brady is on the other sideline. I want them to be more like the Green Bay Packers in this situation. I think this is a lesson learned for the New Orleans Saints. They won't do this again. They've realized that they went too soft at the end of this game. They decided they wanted to run and eat up the Patriots' timeouts and give them the football with not a lot of time and see if they could ice the clock that way and win the football game. No. Put this game away by being the Saints. By throwing the football on third down. You run it on first down, make them use a timeout. You run it on second down, make them use a timeout. And they still had the 2-minute warning. They still had opportunities to stop the clock. You weren't going to run this clock out the conventional way. You needed to pick up a first down to ensure that Brady did not see this football again and that you could take knees and secure the victory. On 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, throw the football. Trust your Hall of Fame quarterback in Drew Brees. Trust your all-pro quarterback in Drew Brees to get it done, to find the open receiver. If it's not there, take the sack. Make them use a timeout. But trust your quarterback to make the right decision. Don't just run and give up and give the ball back to Brady as if he doesn't have the capability to drive down the field and win the football game. And that's exactly what he did. Couple of strikes late in the ball game, last-ditch throw to Kimbrell Tompkins in the back of the corner of the end zone. Patriots come back in thrilling fashion to beat the New Orleans Saints in a game that they had no business winning, that the Saints should have been able to win. They went conservative. It backfired. They tried to run out the clock instead of winning the football game. They tried not to lose the football game, and they lose this one. 30-27. Patriots come from behind and take this one in dramatic fashion. Huge win for the Patriots. They had every opportunity to run away with this game early. They didn't. The Saints came storming back, took control of this game, had it, and they let it slip through their fingers. Huge win by Brady and the Patriots at home. This is a huge boost for them, especially without all of their guns, without this offense clicking the way it's supposed to be. They got it done. And I said this before, you continuously want to count these guys out, but they find ways to win. And that's what champions do. And if you're the Saints, this one makes you sick to your stomach because you should have won this football game, and you blew it. You had opportunities to win this football game, and you simply did not take advantage of them. At the end of this game, you can't go conservative. You can't turn around and hand it off 3 times. Be more like the Packers. On 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, if first down and second down didn't yield the Packers 4 and 5 yards on those runs, and it's 3rd and 3, they're not turning around and handing it off again. They're not going to allow the other team to get their hands on the football. You want to make this thing close? I'm throwing the football with my, all-pro quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. In your case, your all-pro quarterback in Drew Brees. Let it rip. And the Packers had a situation like that against the Ravens where they needed to pick up a key 3rd down late in that football game to secure the victory, to not give Flacco back the football with a chance to win with the field goal. And what did they do? They ripped off a pass to their tight end, Jeremiah Finley, that salted away that game. And then they ran the football with Eddie Lacy and put it away. That's what good teams do. They don't give you the football back at the end of the game. And the Saints did that. They sat on their lead instead of being aggressive and putting the Patriots away. They had their foots on their throat. And they took their foot off of their neck. And they let the Patriots breathe life. And the Patriots took that opportunity, ran with it, and they get the win. They go to 5-1. They drop the Saints to 5-1 on the season. And so, tough loss for the Saints. Huge win for the New England Patriots. So, that is going to do it for me here in the lab room on this Monday edition. Come back tomorrow, or I should say today, for the Tuesday edition of In the Lab Room. I'll be breaking down that Monday night football matchup, among other things. So I'll see you here, I guess, again, shortly to bring you in the lab room, the Tuesday edition. See you in a little bit. And remember, if it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. See you on the Tuesday edition of In the Lab Room.